Ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for staying tuned. This is Smart 24 TV, and we drive your business. Remember, we are the #1 business channel in East Africa, bringing you the latest in the world of business. And now, remember to join the conversation on Twitter. That is at Smart 24 TV. You can also join on my handle, that is at Anthony SSEBAALE, and get to follow the conversation. We are also live on YouTube, on our YouTube live stream at Smart 24 TV Live. And of course, you can leave a comment there and any questions you may have that you may need to get answered. Returning to the discussion here, we are talking about employment skills that the young people need to actually tackle the problem of unemployment. Mr. Nabeta, you shared something during the break that I think the viewers might be interested in. The fact that money shouldn't be the center. What should really be the center of, for example, someone starting a business, someone starting an entrepreneurship set of something to start with?
Okay, thank you. Like we are sharing, in my view, the biggest factor is the idea, the business idea, and the passion that one has towards executing this business idea. Because once you have the passion and the commitment, you will fall and learn, fall and stand up and fall and stand up, and you learn along the way. So once you have those, the idea and then the passion, then you'll be in a position to establish the question of how to do it, and then the money comes in last. But when you want to start with money, you're going to lose focus. You're going to start with something that probably has not even been proved to be marketable. So for me, it is about the idea, it's about the passion, and then the commitment towards that. Now, like my colleague shared, in the developed countries, there is what we call partnerships. If you have got the business idea, okay, and you establish that you do not have sufficient financial resources to start this business, all you need is to prove to the funders, and they could end up as partners in the business venture, So for me, I think the youth really need to focus on building their capacity in terms of idea generation with the growing trends in the economy. The business opportunities that were there in the 70s are no longer the same. Right now, you have got people innovating. The other day we were buying some building materials from Steel and Tube, and I was amazed to find that you have got young men who have just gone out of the university, created their own companies, and they are more or less brokering and getting these goods from, for instance, some of these companies at a lower rate and selling out to the end users at a much higher rate. And they are making money out of it. But this is something that they thought about during their school time, and they realized they fought hard towards its realization, and they are doing a good job. Yes.
Back to you still, Mr. Nabeta. The question of unemployment is not only about people not lacking jobs. It goes beyond to what is the quality of the jobs people have.
I agree.
People have got frustrated. Like I shared with you in the first session, we saw not just one student. So many students have committed suicide on grounds of not finding employment after years and years of studying. This is from primary to secondary to university, and acquiring even a first-class degree, and they can't find a single job to accommodate them. And when you look at people, for example, that are underemployed, because living along those who are unemployed, we have those who are underemployed. They are working but informally and earning peanuts, because basically the businesses they're working in don't provide much. Where can we actually put the line? Is it the education system that we need to transform? Is it the way actually it is organized? Should people first go to vocational training and then go to university? Where is the gap in our education system?
Okay, it's the entire system. There is what we call the systems theory. When we look at, for instance, we have talked about the skills mismatch, and people, for instance, not ready to work in certain sectors, yet these are the sectors that are growing and providing opportunities to some of these people. So I think we need to go with the moving trends as a country, as individuals, as the youth, the individual youth. First of all, establish where the country is heading in terms of the policy documents, where the opportunities are lying, and then try to position yourself appropriately in terms of the skills that are required. You could be a graduate teacher, isn't it? Yes. That is what you have studied. But that doesn't stop you from getting skills in welding if you anticipate that, for instance, you're in the Bunyoro region and they need so many welders. I don't think that should stop you from adding on that skill and can enable you access something to do. So that's what I really think.
Thank you so much for those insights. I want to bring Mr. Walusim here in the discussion. Mr. Nabeta is saying actually diversification of your skills and trying to, different things, not getting stuck on one thing. Also getting training is not only from school. I saw in Kenya recently, they are moving a motion, I don't know if they have passed actually, that secondary school children and primary school going children should all be in their schools, whereby they can get back home, get to interact with their parents, and get to have different problems solved back at home. In your opinion, how can we also modify our education system into that can produce employable Ugandans, or those Ugandans that can actually start business?
Thank you so much. One, I want to appreciate this government because one, they have actually put in place the lower secondary curriculum where our young people are both doing the theory part but also doing the practical part. You will find a lot of career direction to these young people even before they get into university or before they get into a vocational training institute, to understand exactly what they want. And this is based on maybe a survey, a labor market survey, which shows exactly the country where we are going. So it is one of the areas where I've seen that the government is really doing great. Secondly, we need to look at who is the employer. Like Mr. Nabeta said, we are talking about the mismatch of our skills, but who is the employer? The employer is the private sector. How is government supporting the private sector? But before even we talk about government, how is the private sector supporting itself? Which opportunities are into the private sector? How is the mentorship and coaching in this case? You'll find a lot of business owners there sitting comfortably and don't want to improve on skills, but also they don't want to transfer the skills to these young people who come in. A young person goes for the internship and is told to bring in water, bring for me food, but that is not the essence of internship. It should be transfer of skills, because when we transfer these skills, we will find that these businesses are going to increase on production, they're going to create more employment, and this person is also can be able to start their own businesses. So we need to look at that. In a third note, we also need to look at the direction where our government is taking. We've looked at the oil and gas sector, and we need to ask ourselves as private sector, how positioned are we to be able to get a cut off a cake from this? What are our skills in this? Where is the research done? Or we just jumping into a bandwagon that Mr. Nabeka has started a school, let me start a school. No, I think there is a lot that we need to do from that point, but we also need to look at the kind of young people that we have. Most of the people think that it's all about these young people liking their country, but for me I think it's quite different from that. People need to change their mindset, because one of the pillars of PDM is to change the mindset. Why wouldn't a lady become a metal fabricator or a welder? Why would we have these young people get into male-dominated trades? This is the kind of thinking that our young people needs to see, and then they can be able to seize on opportunities. But also looking at the trend, let's not look at people who have made it in life and think that they have made it in one day. They have taken a lot of challenges, they have done a lot of learnings and research, and I believe the young people can be able to reach out to these people, successful people, for mentorship. Because as much as we think that these young people don't want to work, they would want to work, but they don't have a reference of mentorship and contact to these people that have done it in life. And I think that is where we need to really rethink and look at where the country should be able to go.
Yeah. Mr. Nobet, I want to return to you before I forget. You both seem to be very comfortable with the education system because the private sector, you've mentioned, needs to actually... I've been personally in places where I was doing internship, and there are older people who actually said, I will not teach you this machine. I will not teach you how this machine works. Just mop the floor, just, and because you're looking for an opportunity, you will do that, right? But getting back to the education system, we study from primary 1, 7 years through. And in P1, basically, you're learning letters and so on. And you do that for about 3 years. Then in P4 there, that's when you start to learn about the skeleton and all that. And then you come to secondary school, it's a whole new level, and then you're starting. But is this all necessary? Because I've seen people like, for example, in Finland, students don't spend even 4 hours in class in a day. Look at Finland. I mean, they're so productive. You're looking at their young people. Is there something also we need to do to curtail the lots of effort we are putting in vain?
Thank you for that observation. I want to think that at some point in time, we lost it as a country. Education is a basic service. Ideally, it should be a government responsibility. Now, when you open it up and bring in the private sector, you are commercializing the service and, of course, promoting competition for grades. So there you face a challenge of where people have to focus on grades rather than actually producing someone that is adequately prepared for the job market. And that, I would say, maybe call it in the 90s and maybe the other part of 2000 there. But I remember during our time we had a subject called handwork. You are young men, you may not have had it in primary. But this was a very good subject that promoted innovation. As the people in class, at the end of the term, it used to be done once, I think, a year. You're supposed to produce a product which is going to, you even go and sell it in the market. And then you are awarded marks in class. And like he stated, you'd find that then there are some products which were associated with male, making stool chairs, making mats, the big ones. And then there were some products which were associated with females. But that subject, it was called handwork. And I think whoever started it had a reason which was completely correct. That you're teaching someone innovation, produce a product, but not only producing it, but learn how to sell this product in primary. Now, after some time, I think because of the focus on grades, and parents naturally want the best grades for their children, they would focus on those private institutions that were. And that's why, by the way, somehow, the government schools started struggling. But like he has stated, there has been a review of curriculum, and we all participated in one way or the other. And I really think we're on the right track. That right now, when you look at the lower secondary curriculum, the biggest part of the time is by the students is spent outside the classroom environment, trying to think, trying to innovate. And this is what we really need. These students can only come up with viable products if they are given the time to think about them, practice them, test them, and the like. So in terms of the curriculum, of course, we must continue improving it. You can never be comfortable with whatever you have because things keep changing. In terms of curriculum, I think we are so far so good. There is a review process on the A-level curriculum. The institutions of higher learning are mandated to review their curriculum as a minimum every 5 years. If the curriculum is approved by the National Council for Education, for 5 years, you should, as a minimum, have returned it to the National Education and Development Center and whatever for review and approval. So for me, in terms of curriculum development, at those levels, we are doing well. It's only now at the higher institutions of learning where there has been a mismatch Institutions sit and do the curriculum without involving the alumni, without involving the business community.
Who in the field.
Yet these are the ones that are going to accommodate these graduates.
Yes.
They know the kind of skills that they need. Actually, in developed countries, you would say about 60% of the curriculum is dictated by the business sector. You know? So I think it's high time our institutions of higher learning engaged meaningfully the private sector, the business community in terms of the skills that they need, so that as they are preparing these graduates, they are preparing them for the job market. I think that's why we need to improve as institutions of higher learning. I will give a classic example. MTAC, the institution that I work with, in 2017, we sat and thought that we need to have programs that can cater in our attitudinal, you know, that wrong attitude, cater for people who have not gone to school. So we thought about these vocational courses, baker and cookery, hairdressing, tailoring, fashion, art and design, shoemaking and leather works. So in our thinking, we were focusing on people who have not gone to school. But do you know right now, 98% of those that enroll on these programs are graduates. They are graduates. So you can see the challenge that we have. And of course, we are happy. We have, of course, also engaged the people off the street, the vendors, brought them, and some have done these courses 3-4 months. And they have successfully left the streets. But you can see it's because institutions really need to take a lot of emphasis in terms of engaging the business community in developing curricula for their programs.
Thank you, Mr. Norbert. Just briefly, before we go to the break, I want to bring back Mr. Olusimbi before we wind up the issue of education. In Uganda today, I think we still have schools that don't accept gadgets or phones or even laptops for students at school. And when you look at the new curriculum that actually we are talking about here, it requires innovativeness, it requires research, students going out on their own to actually look for information, which is a research-driven kind of education. Do you think we are at a stage where we have to liberalize our education system, especially to tap into technology, artificial intelligence and the like? I'm looking at the likes of Elon Musk, who fired I don't know how many employees at Twitter because they were not meeting his standard, and basically it was to do with artificial intelligence and technology, and where we are heading, I think we are going into that direction. So what is your opinion on the liberalization of our education system in as far as technology is concerned?
Thank you so much. One, currently we all know technology is a very strong element, especially if you were to deliver skills, to do research, do marketing and this. However, I think we need to look at the starting point for our young people to be very innovative, but think out of the box. You look at them, most of the schools currently have computer labs, which are supporting in terms of innovation and OETC. And for me, I believe the ministry has also done so well in some of the schools to introduce some of these systems. And you'll find that even in the vocational training institutes, they have been able to equip with very good equipment that supports innovation, training, and etc. Now the point is, who is delivering the skill? Can they be able to operate these machines that we're talking about to these young people? That is a question. So we need to train our people that are delivering the skills with this technology. But secondly, we also need to know that technology in a certain way also can put off these young people to their natural thinking. So what the curriculum is basically looking at, the lower secondary curriculum, is to have these young people think broader through their brains, come up with innovative ideas and projects, and they can be able to practically do them. So from the thinking to the entrepreneurship bit, and then they look at the viability in regards to the economy that we are having. So I would not say that the young people come in with their technology, but I would really encourage government to keep on doing a lot of equipping, giving very good rates for internet that support these young people to learn, of course, but with a very monitored point of view that we can be able to control our young people to to be going on to other social media platforms that cannot support them. So in regards to our people who are delivering the schools, we need to understand that as much as we're doing the equipping of this technology to support research, the trainers, the people delivering the skills should also be oriented first, should be trained first, so that the skill that is being given at the end of the day matches exactly what we would want these young people to come up with, and which the economy also wants.
Thank you, Mr. Olusimbi. We're going to take another very short break, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Nabeta, when we return, we want to talk about the skill sets. You come from MTAC, and I think you're probably one of the founders of that institution. You might not be, but at least I know you have an idea of at least starting something. And also, Mr. Olusimbi, where you come from, you're looking at the small-scale industries. Now, we are looking at the skills. We want to point out those sectors and which for our young people at all levels. It doesn't matter, maybe secondary level, and get employed. Because even currently as I speak, we have people at the airport flying out to Qatar to do what? Maids, to become maids. And these are graduates, these are people who have gone to school, these are people with their capabilities, even when they haven't gone to school, and we are giving them out. Yes, they are returning the remittances, but at what cost? We are going to talk about that and more after this short break. Stay with us.